Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is September the 11th, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Today was a good day. Happy Thursday. Hopefully, today, has been solid for you as well. 9/11, that day, never forget. I feel like definitely though, sometimes on the pod, I have forgotten, but these things happen. I also don't get that sentimental. I mean, y'all saw from the last episode, as a millennial, I tend to just be a bad millennial in that regard. Anyway, today was good though. We got up, we got after it. I realized I've definitely been in a string of just being late, like just like a couple minutes late, and I hate that. Like I'm killing my attendance slowly but surely. That review is coming up for me, and I know that I'm probably getting like dinged for that, and I'm gonna be grumpy on that day, but that's all right. Overall though, today was thoroughly good. We're kind of funny ending because I closed out at maintenance because I was not needed anymore. The person who was switching over was like already working at it, and we had filled the crusher, which I was like, what's happening? But I mean, this is peak. It feels weird that it's happening so soon in terms of like we are about midway through September. We haven't even hit October, and things are getting like hectic, and I don't like that. And now that I'm thinking about this out loud, I know tomorrow's probably not going to be too fun. Friday's probably not going to be too great. Knocking on wood about that. But I just kind of said, we're done. I'm done. We worked today. We did our thing. It's over. Also, I did have a couple moments where like I had another person come down to help. A supervisor, topsider supervisor, came down to actually, help, which was weird, but good. Like it was one of those things where I definitely, it gave him +5 respect from me, because normally he just comes down, delineates some stuff, freaks out a little bit, in my opinion, and then goes away, and it makes my day a little bit more, jostled, a little bit more, But, he came down to actually help, like move some trash, get his hands dirty, so to speak. And I appreciate that kind of effort. That's something that, like I said, you win points from me on that. So, I mean, we made a bit of a dent in that regard, but it just still ended thick. Like I said, Crusher got filled up. So I'm like, okay, yeah. Anyway, I'm just hanging out in maintenance. Also, mind you, I didn't mention this, but they did a whole like feng shui remodel in maintenance. Now there's no like hide wall, but there's another desk that you can sit at. And I mean, I've never really given the layout of the maintenance area, so sorry about that. But it's just now harder to hide out there, and it just is what it is. I mean, at this point, people know what I do, and they know that the crusher is full. They can find me there in maintenance. That's just how this was going to work. I'm not going to play busy. That's silly, anyway, and I feel like I can do that. Anywho, I'm chilling, and maintenance guy comes, and we normally don't talk because normally by the end of the day, I'm on my way out. He's kind of getting settled into the rest of his shift. But sometimes we do. And this person is very conservative. And, I've mentioned some conversations before on the pod. But of course he was like, Isaiah, I got to pick your brain about what happened yesterday. And I was like, oh, really? Like just internally I'm thinking, do we really have to do this right here, right now? But I'm like, that makes sense. And, he's a Fox News enjoyer. He is a Charlie Kirk enjoyer. He is all of them. He loves them all. He stands. And, he's telling me how Charlie Kirk's a good guy and da-da-da-da. I'm like, well, what are your thoughts? And I just kind of shift to like this hog mode. I have this hog speak. And, I've had this conversation before on the pod. I'm like, yes, you could say it's hypocritical. Oh, Isaiah, you're not standing on fucking business, da-da-da. Yeah, I'm keeping it 99 on my goddamn job. I don't give a shit, dude. And I'm like, yeah, man. Yeah, he was a pretty talented dude, to do and get to where he got, he definitely had to do a lot of talking, a lot of debating, and, just talking a bit about, just his history in general, kind of going back and forth about that, not like in a debate, but just like, yeah, yeah. And then I just really wanted to get out of that conversation, and I'm already looking at the clock. I'm like, I'm burning time now. I need to go to the gym. Like, this is a waste of my time now, and you're just yapping at me, and I don't want to do this anymore. So, we just kind of blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, anyway, see you later. And I get out of there. It's off to the gym. At the gym, it was a good day. It was busy, but once again, able to get on my machines. But I feel like it's a bit of a weird bellwether that it's like, 2 pips, I like to say, because like 1 pip, no one's really going to be there. It's pretty slow. You can get on your machines easy, just looking at the thing before you even like sign in with your little key fob. Well, not key fob, it's on your phone, but you know what I'm saying. 2 pips is when I go, okay, it's probably going to be pretty thick in there. It's going to be a lot of people. I might not be able to get on my machine. 3 pips? Oh boy, you better be ready to be elbow to elbow. It's going to look like Matrix 2 in there. It's going to look like, a Game of Thrones, season finale battle situation, Battle of the Bastards type shit. It's going to be thick in there. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be stinky. No, but, so I saw 2 pips and I was like, on a Thursday? Yuck. But it really wasn't that bad. Got through all my, routines and everything. Something that really popped into my head was I really like as boring as my routine is, to just kind of do the everything and hit just like a set a day on all these things, a couple of chest exercises a couple of times. But like, I like how smooth it's become, even though I've noticed that like I've kind of been taking a little bit more time, like about 15 minutes or so. I don't know what the drag is, but that's okay. It just feels really smooth to do what I'm doing right now. I haven't had moments of like, oh, ow, I'm pulling something, oh, ow, something's happening, and it's just nice to have that kind of situation. Knocking on wood yet again, because I know I'm about to go try to lift heavier for the rest of this weekend coming up. So, but I like that. And it's nice that this has really just become I wanted to say routine, but truthfully, I gotta be honest, it's a hobby. It's a hobby. I really do enjoy going to the gym and being a little gym rat, if you will. Even though I mostly keep to myself, but it's been nice. So yeah, that's been my day. After that, I came home, had my little snacky, and, now we're here, we're yapping it up. I already know this is going to be a long episode. So this, well, at least it's looking to be a long episode given what I have on the docket, but we'll see how it goes. Let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into it. Oh, man. Since I did mention Charlie Kirk, we'll do a bit of side news up front. The manhunt is still underway. They did find a rifle. They found bullets, I think, that had anti-fascist and I think they said transgender or like pro-transgender rhetoric on it. At least that's what we're being told. At least it's just me doing headline hunting. They also released images of what they believe is a suspect, like pictures, like photos of them leaving the scene, their whole outfit and everything. They also said there was like a sniper, or at least, from a roof. So yeah, a little bit of updates on that. I kind of figured we wait until, the person is apprehended, and then, we'll go from there. We'll do a, kind of a big catch-up update from there. Anywho, from Al Jazeera, Israel kills 35 in Yemen attack a day after bombing Qatar's Doha. At least 35 people have been killed after Israel carried out airstrikes in the Yemeni capital Sana'a and Al Jawaf governorate, a day after targeting Hamas leaders in the Qatari capital, Doha. Yemen's Ministry of Health said on Wednesday that 131 people were wounded in Israeli aggression on Sana'a and Al Jawaf. El Joff. I'm sure I'm getting that fucked. I'm sorry. It described the figures as a preliminary toll, warning the number could rise as rescue teams continue to search for victims. The ministry said the raids struck civilian and residential areas, including homes in Sanaa's Al Tahir neighborhood, a medical facility on 60th Street in the southwest of the city, and a government compound in Al Jawf's capital, Al Hassam. Civil defense teams are working to extinguish fires caused by the bombardment and pull survivors from the rubble. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead a bit. Houthi military spokesman Yahya Sari said the group used surface-to-air missiles against the Israeli incursion, saying that some Israeli planes were turned back before they were able to discharge their weapons. Our air defenses were able to launch a number of surface-to-air missiles while confronting the Zionist aggression against our country, the group said via Telegram. Some combat formations were forced to leave before carrying out their aggression, and the bulk of the attack was thwarted. Thanks be to God. Let's see here. Skipping ahead again to a highlighted portion I wanted to hit before we kind of start to move. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that the attack was in response to a Houthi drone strike on Ramon Airport in Israel a few days ago. This attack did not weaken our hand. We struck them again from the air today at their terror facilities, at terror bases with great many terrorists, and also at other facilities, he said in a post on X. We will continue to strike. Anyone who strikes us, anyone who attacks us, we will reach them, he threatened. So yeah, a bit of an update on the conflict there. I mean, obviously, we're not just talking about Gaza. We're not just talking about West Bank. But obviously, Yemen, essentially, I think 7, 8 now, if you consider Qatar. I mean, essentially, they've said, hey, we will strike wherever we see Hamas. That's how we treat it. And it's like, Hamas is here to come to negotiate. You send people here to come to negotiate. That is the whole point. And they're like, yeah, we don't care. It's a war. Remember October 7th. Like, it's running the same spiel over and over again, man. It's so fucking tired, but, it's yet it happens, yet it continues, yet it escalates. But let's move on. Got an update on Bolsonaro from the BBC. Bolsonaro sentenced to 27 years in prison for plotting Brazil coup. I don't know why that was hard for me to say. Also, I'm living for the raggedy Bolsonaro pics. Look, y'all, we've established I'm an evil person. I'm not good. I'm not a good guy. Okay. I'm sorry. To me, these are not good people. So I like seeing them tired. I like seeing them fucked. Like, I remember when he was like getting COVID like every other fucking month or week. Like, he was just down bad for COVID because he was like, I'm not getting vaccinated. I'm just gonna tank this shit. It's not even a thing, bro. And he kept winding up in the hospital with his old ass. He looked like shit, and I thought it was kind of funny. I'm sorry. I mean, like, this person is literally asking for that. Like, what do you want? He doesn't want to take the shot. Anyway, let me take a water break, actually. But yeah, he's just been looking raggedy, and I think it's funny. And that's why the one I have in the thumbnail, like, that's peak. And then there's one on the BBC, and he just looks like tired Hitler. Like, he's got like the kind of side cut, like, dude, just no mustache. Look, I'm just saying it's the look. That's the look he has. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, the former president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, has been sentenced to 27 years and 3 months in prison after being found guilty of plotting a military coup. A panel of 5 Supreme Court justices handed down the sentence just hours after they had convicted the former leader. They ruled he was guilty of leading a conspiracy aimed at keeping him in power after he lost the 2022 election to his left-wing rival, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. 4 of the justices found him guilty, while 1 voted to acquit him. Bolsonaro's lawyers have called the sentence absurdly excessive and said they would file the appropriate appeals. mind you, this coup involved him not just keeping power like some kind of fucking dictator, but also like assassinating De Silva. Like that was a part of this fucking whole thing. And it's like, oh, you guys are blowing it out of proportion. It's like you were trying to overthrow the government, dog. What are you talking? Like this is treason and shit. Like no, like putting you in jail for the rest of your life, 27 years. I mean, he's like in his 70s. That doesn't seem too out of fucking pocket to me. I'm sorry. Am I? I'm being mean. I don't know. Like I don't know how we're supposed to handle these people these days. Uh, sorry. The Supreme Court panel also barred him from running for public office until 2033. That being said, I've heard conversation just about like, sure, you could lock him up. Sure, you can ban him from political office, but he has influence. His family has influence. Like there's like through either his sons or I believe his wife. Like there are potential means of power play here. So he's not written out, even though he is getting, potentially, what it's looking like, thrown in jail. Bolsonaro, who was put under house arrest after being deemed a flight risk, did not attend this final phase of the trial. Also, it was said too in another article I read that like the lawyer, once he heard guilty, he just like left. He's just like, I'm not. He's game over. Whatever. GG's. Bye. They mentioned the tariffs in this article. Trump put a retaliatory tariffs on them for essentially even running this trial. I guess essentially trying to scare him off. That was a lobby play, I believe, by Bolsonaro's son. He kind of ran, up to the States and was like, "You gotta help my dad. He's just like you for real, for real." And I'm sure maybe some promises were made, some deals, whatever. If things work out or get better in the future. And it doesn't take much. I've realized too for Trump. You can really just, if you can sell Trump, if you can pitch Trump, he'll probably go along with it. If he like respects you enough, he likes your vibe enough, like you're putting enough money on the table, enough carrot in front of him, he goes, okay, fine, yeah, let's see let's see how this goes. And it's like, brother, you're the fucking leader of the free world. That's crazy that you're just kind of so easily led by these things, these impulses. But I do think it's a somewhat personal thing for him to kind of do this kind of tariff move, kind of political play here. Kind of trying to put his thumb on the scale. He's like, he is just like me. You can't fuck with him like that. No way. So there's a bit of back and forth between Marco Rubio and, motherfuckers from Brazil in terms of, I can't think of the fucking word. They're politicians or whatever. They had a back and forth. They're leaders. But where am I going to go from here? Bolsonaro was found guilty of 5 charges, all relating to his attempt to cling to power after he was beaten in the 2022 election. But prosecutors said he had started to plot to stay in power long before, proposing a coup to military commanders and sowing unfounded doubts about the electoral system. It's also crazy that really it did fall down to the military, which, I mean, in these situations it often does, at least from, what I've learned, the scant things, is that if you get enough of the military, like, 2/3 or whatever, at least active, whatever, you get them on side, they say, yeah, well, we'll go with you. We rock with you, not what this future bullshit is. Well, then you have the means, you have the power. You just, press the button and it goes. But essentially in this situation, there was enough people saying, no, we're not doing this. Like, in fact, if you try to make anything like this happen, we're gonna make sure that it doesn't. Like, we're gonna put a stop to it, which is what happened on January 8th. Like, yeah, no, we're not going along with this. This is crazy. And so he didn't have the power to make the fucking coup happen. And it just, fell apart. It was just looking like some January 6th shit, which, turns out was for the best here. Let's see. They also said that Bolsonaro knew of a plan to assassinate Lula and his vice president running mate, as well as a Supreme Court justice. The justice found he had led a conspiracy and also convicted 7 of his co-conspirators, including senior military officers. Among them are 2 former defense ministers, a former spy chief, and a former security minister. Let's see. So, yeah, that's more or less where I'm going to leave it for now. We'll see what comes, post this verdict. They're also trying to pitch in terms of like, oh, he shouldn't have to like serve this in like an actual jail cell. You have him on house arrest. You should just keep him in house arrest. Like he's like a fucking political prisoner. It's like, dude, you committed a crime. You should go to fucking jail for it. Like, you're good. You're good on COVID, bro. You're fine. Like, no, that's old news, right? Let's get you to jail, brother. But no, I like that Brazil moved the way that they did. To move quickly and efficiently, actually, using the levers of power that you have available and not fucking twiddling your thumbs so you can get the perfect slam dunk thing. I get it that Bolsonaro is not Donald Trump, but once again, it's just nice to kind of see the wheels of power move like immediately. At least, you could actually see it boom to boom to boom and, you get a result, as opposed to, kind of how things moved in the Biden administration post-Trump losing and all that kind of fucking shit. Anyway, that's maybe a conversation for another day. But I'm sure we'll be back to Brazil. We definitely got to, talk tariffs and shit again, see if there's going to be any changes, if Trump escalates from here. Or not. It comes down from here. Who knows? But, yeah, I'm going to actually take another water break. I'm yapping it up. I'm yap maxing. But like I said, it's going to be a bit of a longer episode. And this one we have to read. This article I felt is just going to be better to read. A bit of a preface, though. I did listen to True and On today, where they did like a 2.5 hour, more or less, read of the Epstein birthday book. And then I came home and I looked over said birthday book because you can just fucking find it. It's available. Like, I think not the DOJ, but the Oversight Committee released, I think, the thing on a Google Doc or something to that effect. And that Google Doc is just readily available. You can just go fucking find it. And yeah, I think it's like 200 and some odd fucking pages, at least 238 pages of information. And, it's like a 3-act fucking thing. It's a lot. And I'm saying all this because it ties to the story of the UK ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson. So essentially, the book was revealed fully and, crows are coming home to roost, more or less. Anyway, let me take this water break. I will say another thing I wanted to just kind of mention. This thought dawned on me because the birthday thing, the Epstein birthday book is so weird. It's so weird. It just has this uncanny, surreal nature to it. And how all these people like put in all of these like, oh man, Jeffrey, remember this time? Like, and all of it is so like weirdly sexually driven. Talking about boobs and like there's weird caricatures and drawings of things. But yet, like, that's obviously the weird part of it. But then there's also this like normalness of it, of being like a birthday book. And that's something even to, as I'm like, I once again mentioned that I'm a millennial, like that's a strange thing to me. But I realize I do have a bit of, anecdotal thing of like, I have my scrapbook that, one of my family friends made for me. This was something that was made, to kind of remember my mom, who passed away and everything. And just all my memories with her that were in these pictures, and just me growing up, my family and all these things. And like, that's a treasured thing to me. So like in that regard, I do understand. And I guess for Jeffrey Epstein, him and Ghislaine, they just had this thing of like, yeah, you make this little birthday book for me, you get it all assembled, you go out and you get all these people to get the stuff, and she's just kind of writing these little notes and things throughout it. People have letters in it, and they're writing these sentimental letters. But like I said, when I say sentimental, I don't mean like, oh, we're referencing all these like fun memories. Most of these fun memories are very strange and weird and involve sex. And then you have to understand who they're having sex with. And it's like, oh my God. And then also a story that really stuck out to me like a fucking sore thumb was a story that like one was mentioning where it's like, yeah, we went on a boat and we took these girls and we had a knife in our hand and then da 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 da. And I'm paraphrasing the da da da. I don't want to get into that shit. But it's like, are you serious? Like, you're saying this in a book. Like, people are going to look through this book. You're thinking, like, it's weird to just be so, like, tongue-in-cheek about this. But, like, you're okay with saying, and they were okay with saying this shit. They were okay with just being out and about with this shit. And, you have the Donald Trump, body letter. You have, I think Bill Clinton gets a mention in it. I think in this one, I believe. Let's see. And there's others. So it is one of those things where I'm just like, it's just so surreal. Oh, and then the Pashkow. We mentioned him from the other episode with the check. Mar-a-Lago connection to Epstein. So it's like all of these people just have these ties and they write these things. And honestly, I think maybe Clinton's just saying like, oh, you're a very curious man. Like that might be maybe the nicer one. But there's also like, once again, very graphic, crude drawings. There's like a picture, or just another one that's just kind of flashing to my head of him in like some kind of what I believe like a Chinese shop or something, and the caption that is written above it like, oh, will this make my winky bigger? Like just shit like that. It's just like, what is going on? Like these are things, and then once again, that makes me harken back to my little scrapbook. My little scrapbook just has pictures of me and my friends. Just has picture of me kicking a soccer ball around. And mind you, you get some baby photos of Jeffrey Epstein. You get, some family photos. You get some like, candids with him and Ghislaine and stuff of that nature. But then once again, just, people topless. Gross. And it's a lot. But I will say it's important to mention, because to reference a thumbnail from a previous episode when we talked about Pashkow, that big black block, that is the edit from the Oversight Committee, I believe. So that is like the redaction. And throughout this, anytime a woman is mentioned, well, I say anytime, that's not entirely true, but like in the broad strokes, it is. And that's kind of makes me go like this could have been vetted better, maybe. Kind of crazy that you did this work, but then not, stick to it harder. Cause like, I feel like there are some names and stuff that you can still glean through some of the redactions, but there's a lot of redactions in terms of like any woman's face, besides Ghislaine's. I think there's like a photo of a random baby. I don't know of who. I think it's mentioned when I was listening to True or Not. It just escapes me now. But that was blocked out. So yeah, heavily redacted. But that's obviously for potential victims and things of that nature. But yeah, like I said, so much in that, and I'm doing this preface, to just kind of say, okay, this Peter Mandelson guy is a friend of Epstein. He called him one of his best pals. And then also, to just before we dive in, an anecdotal story that I pulled from that relating to him was he mentioned how he thought it was kind of weird. Like, he enjoyed hanging out with them, right? But there'd be these moments and he's like, Jeff, you just kind of leave. Like, you just kind of disappear. And you're leaving me with like, these girls or whatever, like, and you're in the help. And, I'm just kind of hanging out here. And then, I get a little lonely. I get a little weird, But, like, then there's photos of him hanging out with, said random, I feel like you have to say, girls, women, whatever. And I feel like it really is important to sadly say girls in the situation. But, allegedly, whatever. But he's just hanging out. But then you see another photo of Jeffrey parachuting in. Literally parachuting in. Like, what the fuck? Like, so I get that that's a story to tell, but it's also weird and uncanny that you're hanging out with all these people doing God knows what, right? Anyway, let's finally get in. From the Associated Press. UK fires ambassador to US Peter Mandelson over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Thursday fired the country's ambassador to the United States, Peter Mandelson, over his links to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Just days before the arrival of President Donald Trump to the UK on a second state visit, Starmer dismissed the veteran British politician in the wake of the publication of emails that Mandelson sent to Epstein, in which he gave his support to the disgraced financier, even when he was facing jail for sex offenses. Foreign Office Minister Stephen Dotty, we're going to say Dotty, told Parliament the emails pointed to the depth and extent of Mandelson's relationship with Epstein being materially different from what was known when he was appointed ambassador to Washington last year after the Labour Party's election victory. Maybe that might be dubious to say, and maybe that's just me. I that's me being, my suspicion hat being on there a little bit. But like, I think you kind of just say, hey, we're going to turn a blind eye because we think that this guy is the guy to kind of handle Trump. We think he's the one to do it. Which, I mean, are you saying that maybe because of potential ties that you're thinking? I don't know. Once again, my speculation has on here. I'm not speaking with any kind of, fact. Um, in particular, Dottie pointed to Mandelson's suggestion in one email that Epstein's first conviction in 2008 was wrongful and should be challenged. Mandelson took up his Washington Post in February after what Starmer's government described as an extensive vetting process. The diplomat has voiced his deep regret over his previous links with Epstein and said he knew nothing about his criminal activities, which that was bullshit. That was a lie. Being ambassador here has been the privilege of my life, Mandelson wrote in a letter to embassy staff that was reported by the BBC. The circumstances surrounding the announcement today are ones which I deeply regret. I continue to feel utterly awful about my association with Epstein 20 years ago and the plight of his victims. The decision to fire Mandelson comes a day after Starmer said he had confidence in him. It's the latest blow to the Prime Minister ahead of a state visit by Trump to the UK next week, which is likely to be met with protest and some controversy. Epstein took his own life in prison in August 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges, more than a decade after his initial conviction. Let's see. On Wednesday, the Sun newspaper published emails that said it showed Mandelson telling Epstein to fight for early release shortly before he was sentenced to 18 months in prison. I think the world of you, Mandelson reportedly told him before he began his sentence in 2008 for soliciting prostitution from a minor. Mandelson's links to Epstein came under scrutiny after the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released a 50th birthday album compiled in 2003 for Epstein that purportedly included a note from U.S. President Donald Trump. In that album, Mandelson called Epstein my best pal. Which, I mean, that's pretty damning to say that's your best pal, dude. Like, bro, you're my number one. Bro, you're my main bro. Bro, you're the one to my two, bro. Yeah, that isn't look good. Last week, Starmer's deputy Angela Rayner quit over a tax error on a home purchase following days of speculation over her future. Following Rayner's resignation, Starmer carried out a major reshuffle, a forced government reboot after a rocky 14 months in office that has seen his popularity plunge. Mandelson might have gone, but just as with Angela Rayner, Starmer dithered when he needed to be decisive, said Kimi Badenoch, leader of the main opposition Conservative Party. He has no backbone and no convictions. Bro, they're preaching. Like, I mean, you can't say that's fucking wrong. Honestly, yeah, dude. Starmer and the Labor Party is honestly looking like fucking steamed cabbage, bro. It's not looking good. But Starmer now faces questions over his appointment of Mandelson, who is no stranger to controversy, having twice resigned from former Prime Minister Tony Blair's government in 1998 and 2001. After his second resignation from Blair's government, Mandelson became a European commissioner when Britain was still in the European Union, before returning to frontline British politics in 2008 to serve under Blair's successor, Gordon Brown. Mandelson's trade expertise was considered a major asset in trying to persuade the Trump administration to not slap heavy tariffs on British goods, and seemed to pay off when the countries struck a trade deal in May, though some details of the agreement have yet to be finalized. He is also a skilled, critics say ruthless, political operator whose mastery of political intrigue earned him the nickname Prince of Darkness. Bro, you're the Prince of Darkness, and you're telling me your best friend is who? Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, look, the shit is writing itself. It's rare for a politician, rather than a career civil servant, to be given a key UK ambassadorial post. Mandelson was not an obvious choice as emissary to the Trump administration. He once called Trump a danger to the world. Words he later said were ill-judged and wrong. The government said James Roscoe, the UK deputy head of mission in Washington, will serve as an interim ambassador and oversee Trump's state visit. Roscoe is a career diplomat and former communications chief to the late Queen Elizabeth II. Rest in whatever. Anyway, let's go. We're keeping it, European. Once again, I'm so thirsty. I'm gonna take another water break, and then we got to talk about an update on prime ministers. They just keep swapping them out. At least coming out of France. Ooh la la. From the BBC, Macron names ally Sebastien Lecornu as new French prime minister. President Emmanuel Macron has named close ally Sebastien Lecornu as the new French prime minister 24 hours after a vote of confidence ousted François Bayrou as head of government. Lecornu, 39, was among the favorites to take over, and he has spent the past 3 years as armed forces minister, focusing on France's response to Russia's war in Ukraine. There's a lot of yada guying that I can do here, but I mean, we talked about the story in a previous one. You can catch up if you're, not too previous. It's not as steep to me. I mean, hell, there might be another one, in the next coming months, so whatever. Essentially, he chose a centrist pick, which in some ways, I guess I'm glad it's not someone on the right, because that's kind of, giving up. But it's annoying because you knew he wasn't going to pick someone on the left. So, we're just going to have the same fucking situation no matter what. I guess the pipe dream that Lecornu is going to be able to bridge the gap, at least with the left, is what they're talking. And that maybe that collapses this stalemate, and then you get 2/3 in what you want, and you can get this budget passed, so they can get back to sustaining their government or whatever the fuck. Anyway, so that's the update there. I don't want to really get too deep into that, but it's obviously very relevant. But yes, we have one more story that I wanted to get to before we close it out for the day, and that's coming out of USA Today. But let's take our last break and we will close it out. Ooh, I will say, Music Corner. Today I got into a new artist. Actually, Music Corner and a quick food corner. I came in, and apparently we hit a lick from the job. We apparently maintenance or whatever did a favor for a neighbor, a building neighbor, we have a work plaza, and I guess there's a Mondelez company next door to us, and they needed a favor, and we helped out, and they said, oh, for helping us out, we're gonna give you 2 boxes, I think, or just a box full of cookies. So I got to try several types of those Reese's fusions. So I got to try the Oreo Reese's. Amazing. I walked in, and they someone in one department are eating these Oreos, and I'm like, oh, what are you eating? And they're like, oh, do you want some? And they're these, the Reese's Oreos, and I'm like, heck yeah. And I take one, and I immediately go, can I have another? They were so good. The way it hit, because the thing that was kind of weird to me at first, because I'm like, why are we pushing this one? Because they already have an Oreo peanut butter. That's not really new. You could just already buy that. But the difference is the peanut butter is more rich, and they put I think chocolate bit in it, so it just has this richer, denser kind of vibe to it. It's so good. So I start my day off with that, and he mentions that there's more cookies, and I kind of just go, okay, cool. I'm not really trying to eat all these cookies, bro. Y'all know I'm trying to fucking try to eat better. I'm trying to, keep to this diet bullshit. It's hard. But anyway, I mosey on over to maintenance, and he tells me the whole story about how, we get all these cookies, and he goes, "Yeah, have some." And I proceed to rifle through them. And I'm a kid in a candy shop. And it's just like all kinds of Chips Ahoy. So the first one I try was the Stranger Things one. Y'all, the Stranger Things cookie is better than Stranger Things the series. I said it. I'm saying it. I'm standing by that. And look, I'm the type of person who tried the Post Malone cookies and I lost faith. I lost faith in this whole goddamn process. I thought capitalism is really won. There's no good junk. It's all ass. You're never going to get another good cookie again. I was thinking this. We can only do home cookies. It's over. It's Jover. It's ogre. But no, no. The Stranger Things cookie smacks. It's so fire. It's so good. Like, it took everything to me not to eat more than two. I had two of everything. The next one I try was the also chewy. By the way, these are all chewy ones that I had, which to me is saying something because this is a hot take. I don't like the chewy ones usually. Default Chips Ahoy chewy, kind of ass, kind of garbage. I'm a hard one. I like them. I like the OG hard. Anyway, I had the Reese's chewy one, and that one was also good. Had two of those. So it was and then they had Nilla wafers, banana wafers, like the little the little biscuit kind of thing. To my international listeners, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I've gone long talking about treats and whatnot, but we had to mention that. Oh, buddy. All right. I don't know if I did the first part, but we're gonna do that again anyway. Oh man, I'm a mess. What started this thought? Julia Wolf. I listened to Julia Wolf today. I listened to it was a bad song. It was not a good song called Doghouse. It is a Drake and Yeet song, and y'all know I've not really been a big fan since shit hit the fan. I feel like it's just the music has not been hitting. And anytime he does the pop shit, it's just not hitting anymore. So he's just not winning on any of these fronts the same way to me. The Yeet, I've become a Yeet fan. I like listening to Yeet in the gym. Breathe, it's a good song. But this was not his song. But I'll tell you whose song it was. The first 30 seconds of Julia Wolf was the hardest bar I've heard like all month. Like it was sick. It just hit, and I was like, I love these kind of intros. I played that intro, just that 30 seconds, like 20 times today. But I also listened to her album Pressure. That shit hit. It's like dark brat. That is how I describe it. Y'all know I had a whole fucking talk about Brat and that album and how I felt about that album, and it was good. Fuck with that. But this was what I wanted. Like I was so impressed by this album, and I definitely will listen to more Julia Wolf. That's what we learned today. Anyway, let's get back to the news. I am sorry. This is some serious shit. Anyway, from USA Today. Multiple HBCUs under lockdown after receiving terroristic threats. Multiple historically black colleges and universities, or HBCUs, have gone into lockdown after threats were directed at the campus schools. School officials announced. Sorry, I said that sentence funny. Anyway, Alabama State University, Hampton University, Virginia State University, Southern University and AM College, and Bethune-Cookman University locked down the morning of Thursday, September 11th, each citing potential threats made against the campuses. The lockdown at Southern University was later lifted, but all campus activities and classes were canceled through the weekend, school officials announced on social media. Spelman College in Atlanta also asked students and faculty to avoid campus and increase security measures due to a threat against nearby Clark Atlanta University. though the shelter-in-place order was later lifted. Clark Atlanta University confirmed in a statement to USA Today that campus police are investigating threats and a shelter-in-place order has ended. Virginia State shared an urgent alert at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, declaring the campus closed and advising students, faculty, and staff to check their emails. Campus police are actively investigating the credibility of the threat received earlier today, along with local, state, and federal law enforcement partners, the university said in a statement. Alabama State as well received terroristic threats, acted accordingly, kind of, I don't want to say yada yada yada, but that is what I'm doing. As well as Florida A&M, and let's see, and then they kind of just go into a history of sadly violence, in terms of just either potential attempts and other just threats and really just scary fucking moments, sad moments. Because the shit just keeps going and going and going. It is sadly not a new thing, not a new phenomenon. But worth mentioning, and that is sadly what we are closing out on for today. But it has been a long episode. My back is telling me so. But yes, if you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever platform you like to listen on. Let's see. Leave a like. Leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. All the stars are appreciated on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I think maybe even Amazon. I think they have a little star system. Maybe I might be wrong there. It's been a while. But that's it. That's all I have. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.